Hey everyone, welcome to the Restorative Reading and Writing for Wellness podcast. I'm Stephanie, a book-loving, notebook-hoarding reader and writer on a mission to change lives one book and one notebook at a time. On this podcast, we explore the power of books and notebooks as tools for wellness. Reading and writing can help us feel better and make life better too, and I'll show you how I do it. You'll find episodes exploring the research behind reading and writing for wellness, practical strategies to embrace your own restorative reading and writing, and you'll meet authors and special guests who help us take inspired actions in our own daily practices too. So grab a notebook and your TBR list and let's dive into today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Restorative Reading and Writing for Wellness. I'm Stephanie, here with another episode on how reading and writing can make life better. Now, this week's episode is coming directly from my real life reading and my real life learning. If you didn't know that already, this podcast truly is a week by week sharing of what my own reading and writing life looks like, my own learning that I'm doing, how I'm growing in my own restorative practice. It comes directly from me, literally in the moment, and then I pass that along to you. And this week, I am excited to share something that has come directly from my own reading, that has launched directly into my own learning, and that I am excited to share with you as something that could truly make a difference in your own reading and writing life. There is one thing, or I guess I should say a collection of 5 things, that could be the one thing, or 5 things, that is standing in your way of a reading and writing life that is interesting and passes the time, to a restorative reading and writing practice that actually calms your nervous system and makes you feel better. Now, as a quick review, if you are new here or just want a bit of a refresher to keep us on the same page, there are a couple of key steps to my signature restorative reading and writing practice that alchemizes the healing power of them both together. The first step is to carve out a block of time, ideally half an hour, and create soothing conditions for you to read and write inside of. The second step is to choose a book or a passage or an essay that is exactly what you need right now. The third step is to read that book with an open mind and an open heart and be open to the whispers of inspiration and the nudges you might be getting. The next step is to jot those nudges down, jot those compelling quotes down, write about them in any way that you see fit. And the final step is to then take inspired action from the page to make life better. First, from the page of the book you are reading. Second, perhaps from the nudges and the emotions that came out on the page as you paired that with a journaling practice. And then you take action on those things in order to feel better and make life better overall. Now, as with many things that people try to do, the first step can be the hardest part of the process. Showing up can be the hardest part of the process. We say in yoga that rolling out your mat was literally the hardest part. I think that's true with a restorative reading and writing practice as well. The hardest part can be finding the block of time and creating the optimal conditions for your own reading and writing. But honestly, just like rolling out the yoga mat is the hardest part, finding the time and setting the conditions might be the hardest part to get us going. But if we do, beautiful changes can happen in your mind, in your body, and in your life, especially when we layer our reading and writing practices with soothing signals from our senses. That's what I mean about creating soothing conditions. It's layering sensory information onto our restorative reading and writing practices. Now, why? I've spent time on the podcast talking about that in the past, and as a Cliff Notes version, I used to think that it was because those sensory signals, like lighting a candle or playing soothing music, they provided a message, a signal to our nervous system that it was time to calm down. It was time to sink into practice. It was time to relax. And those sensory layers just elevated the comfort of that reading and writing experience. And honestly, that is still true. But now I know that it goes far, far beyond that. The sensory layers that we add to our reading and writing practices actually signal safety to our bodies. That's what I have learned this week. They signal safety to our bodies. Now, where did I learn that? Well, if you listen to a previous episode, you know my one word theme of April is release. I'm linking to the episode where I talked about my book Apothecary in the show notes. And one of those books that I have been reading and devouring and rereading and practicing and living is titled Healing with Somatic Yoga by Brett Larkin. Now, in that book, I hit the jackpot of a research nugget from her, which is this: our bodies do not speak in words, right? Even if we wanted to, we can't just say to our bodies and minds, hey, stop worrying, stop overthinking, stop ruminating, and have our bodies and minds go, oh, you don't want to do that? Okay, done, right? It does not happen like that. Our bodies just don't listen to us in English. They don't listen to us in words. They don't listen to our minds at all in that way. Why? Well, as Brett shared, our bodies literally speak in a different language. They speak in the language of movement, of sensation, of breath, of sound, of touch, of all of those primal languages, so to speak, that signal to our nervous system that it is safe, right? If we go way, way back, if we are safe, right? We're not running from a tiger or we're not getting, overwhelmed by some true threat in our environment, then our breathing is different. It's calmer, it's deeper. We might be present enough to notice the wind blowing on our face. Or we might be sitting with friends and talking and bumping shoulders or giving someone a hug. All signals to our body that we are safe, right? Our bodies listen to things that perhaps we haven't been able to communicate to it. So when I was reading that section in her book, I realized that is why the sensory elements matter so much to a restorative practice. Yes, it is a signal. Yes, it makes us comfortable, but it also is signaling our system that we are safe. And if our system is safe, we can really go deeper into the reading and writing that we're doing, read it with an open mind and an open heart, and make those changes that are coming as the inspired action nudges we're receiving. So I thought it is the perfect time for me and you to take a sensory audit of our current restorative practice and perhaps give it a little bit of a refresh for the spring season. So I encourage you to just take a moment and ask yourself two questions about your current reading and or writing practices. Question one, what signals of safety are you currently providing your system during that time? What signals of safety are you currently providing your system during that time? Are you layering it with some sort of sensory information that could communicate to your body in a way that words can't, that it's time to relax? Question two, how do those signals of safety or those sensory layers align to the season of the calendar we're in? So we're taking advantage of Mother Nature's rhythms, right? If we want to really sink into something restoratively, we can take our cues from Mother Nature as well and deepen that practice even more. So what signals of safety are you currently providing your system during your reading and writing right now? And how do they align to the season of the calendar we're in to take advantage of that cyclical nature? Now, Only you know what you are doing and what you are not doing and what you might do. But I realized that I had some work to do in this area. I had let some of my sensory signals go because I was in more of a busy season. And so I brainstormed some of my own ideas for my own practice that I want to share with you in hopes that they help you too. So let's go sense by sense. The sense of sight. Spring invites us to notice nature and the world around us. And so there's three things I'm going to do to bring some springtime sensory rituals to my reading and writing. The first is that I'm going to attempt to read and write outside more often and really get the vision of the outdoors in my mind. Or perhaps I'll just make sure that I'm reading next to a window where the outdoor world is very easily visible to me. I also think that I could add a plant or a flower or a succulent to my home overall, but especially to where I intend to read. And I also think if you don't want to bring the natural world to you, you could just choose book covers and notebook covers and bookish bling that has spring-like colors to give yourself that mimicked experience of bringing in the outdoors. For hearing, I think that spring invites us to listen to the sounds of renewal and growth, which are some of my most favorite springtime themes. Two things I'm going to try to do are one, read outside, borrowed from my earlier list on embracing the sights of spring, but also just listen to birdsong. I could play birdsong from YouTube on my phone as I read to mimic being outside. And we know that birdsong has been researched to instantly calm our nervous system because of our primal nature. When there are birds chirping, there are no threats. I also could play a nature-infused audio track, right? Maybe it's not birdsong, but it's a beautiful rainfall or a light wind, a light breeze brushing across the grass. And if I wanted to elevate that just a little bit, I could blend sight and hearing together and press play on a nature-themed ASMR room on YouTube and get both of those senses in one. Okay, so there's sight, there's hearing. Moving on to smell. I think spring could invite us to embrace the sense of a blooming season. If you are an essential oil lover like I am, then this is the time to get out those fruity and floral flavors. Maybe you get some lavender, maybe you get some geranium, maybe you bring out the citrus like lemons or grapefruits. Get those diffusing and pump that wonderful scent into the air. If you're not an essential oil user yet, maybe you are a candle lover. And so light a citrus or floral or even a minty candle while you're reading and writing to bring those scents of the season to you. Moving on to taste. I think spring invites us to explore our own personal flavors of what joy and presence feels like for us. Spring just screams joy and presence to me, but that that flavor might be different for all of us. So above all, I urge you to choose a beverage or choose a snack that feels like comfort and presence for you even if it isn't aligned to a spring flavor profile. Black coffee, hot black coffee, will always be my comfort beverage of choice. That will always spark presence and joy for me. Maybe not you, but it does for me. So lean into whatever is comfortable. But if you want to experiment with some spring flavored drinks or snacks, maybe you try some flowery herbal teas, or one of my new favorite things to drink is Element, that very salty, what's the word I want? Electrolyte drink. My favorite flavors are citrus and lemonade, and so those are perfect spring drinks to refresh my body as I am engaging in restorative reading and writing. And finally, our final sense is touch. Spring invites us to ground ourselves in the physical world. So maybe again, a theme here, you get outside with your bare feet touching the grass to get some of those very important grounding benefits as well. that is not your thing, maybe you grab a stone, right? A worry stone, or I don't know, a shell from a vacation you had in the past, and you put that in your book apothecary and on your restorative altar, both things that we've talked about in the podcast before that I will link to in the show notes. And you just keep it close by to hang on to in your hand. You can hang on to it while you are reading a book. You even can hang on to it in the opposite hand that you write with, or just keep it on top of your notebook to rub occasionally to get that sense of touch. Maybe you get out those really cool calm strips that help you feel that grounding any place that you are at. I used to have them on my phone, on my notebook, on my desk. There's all sorts of things that could work for you, but these are just the things that I am trying in my own personal springtime restorative, can't even get the word out, reading and writing practice in this particular season. So I would love to know what you think of my suggestions and what I'm going to try, but even more so, I would love to know what your recommendations are for layering on some sensory experiences to our reading and writing that really embrace this springtime theme. Leave them in the comments, and perhaps I will borrow some of them for my own. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this shorter episode. Now you have more time to go out and grab some of those sensory experiences, some of those sensory tools that can really not only elevate your restorative reading and writing practices, but can literally make your body feel safe and calmer and better in the moment. That hopefully connects to when you close the book or the notebook and re-enter your actual life as well. That is the goal, right? To have restorative reading and writing practices that make life better. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Restorative Reading and Writing for Wellness podcast. You'll find links to all of the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at alitlife.com. And if you want more, you might like to join my Get Literate Substack community. There, you'll find additional inspiration for your reading and writing life, like bonus podcast episodes, book calendars, monthly book clubs, notebooking inspiration, live events, giveaways, and much more. It's only $5 a month, and you get instant access to all of the previous content, too. You can learn more at getliterate.co. But there's one more thing. If you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish and no bookish community, too. Thanks for listening, everyone.